So good morning. This is going to be an abridged shiur, but we welcome everybody. Welcome everyone back. Those who were away, I was away. Good to be back. We're in chapter 23. Unfortunately, because of Levaya, in just about a half an hour's time, we're not going to be able to learn as long as I would have liked. But okay, we're not in any rush. And if we don't finish this week, which I know we will not finish, we'll pick it up next week. We're on page 396 of the Koren Tanakh, which is the one I like to use because it has a very nice English translation, even though it too is an interpretation. Page 396, the Koren Tanakh, which corresponds to Shmuel Bet, Parak Chav Gimel. We had learned the first half of this parak. We're in the summation section, the appendices practically that are added to Sefer Shmuel Bet, to the end of Sefer Shmuel. Here will be an example today of an element that on the face of it is not really giving us any new information, because we've already had part of this list listed earlier in Sefer Shmuel, and also because it'll appear in Sefer Divrei Hayamim, which is where we expect generally lists of names and those sorts of things for the sake of telling us names to appear. That's not to say there aren't genealogies that appear in Sefer Breshit, even obviously in Parshat Breshit, so-and-so begat so-and-so, and generations one to the other. I'm not attempting to negate that. I'm just saying when you come to the narration, the narrational portions of Sefer Shmuel, the expectation is we want to know the story. And if it's not germane to the story, you don't have to tell me a list of names of people. Shmuel Bet, as opposed to Sefer Divrei Hayamim. A word about Sefer Divrei Hayamim, much to say, but I'm not going to get too far with that today because I don't want to get too sidetracked, even though we're going to look up a few things. Divrei Hayamim. Also, there's no Divrei Hayamim Aleph and Bet. It's one long Sefer. Divrei Hayamim is a Sefer that very much focuses on the Malchut Beit David. And when you open up the book of Chronicles, it actually starts with Adam, and it goes through all of the genealogy of the Jewish people till it gets to the world of Yehuda, and from Yehuda to David, and then it focuses on the Malchut Beit David. It's a retelling of the same events, but from a different perspective. It is of later redaction. If memory serves, it's Chizkiyahu and his Bezdin who are the ones who put the final stamp on it. That's the Gemara in Bava Batra and Daf Tet Zayin that gives us the list of who wrote what. So I believe that's the description of who ended up redacting the Sefer. Anyway.
Could you repeat that? I did.
Sorry, Divrei Hayamim, the book of Chronicles, of which, just like Shmuel, there's this arbitrary Aleph and Bet, but it's really just one long book, is very much focused on the world of Malchut Beit David.
That I got, but who wrote it? Who redacted it?
So I'm pretty sure that it was hold on, I'll tell you right now. I just looked it up as we're talking. Ezra started it. Sorry, it's even later. It's Divrei Hayamim. I thought it was Chizkiyahu and his Bezdin. He got to himself, and then later Chachamim finished Sefer Divrei Hayamim. So it's very much, it's called Chronicles, but it is written up Ruach HaKodesh. It's part of the Ketuvim. It's not a work of Nevuah, but a work that is of Ketuvim. Not today, not the day for distinction, but you should know there is a distinction. And Sefer Divrei Hayamim is already written by Ezra. So Ezra is a member of the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, and the most prominent among them. But it's from that era that we get the whole story written out. And there we expect a list of names. Look at chapter 23 in Sefer Shmuel Bet, page 396 in the Koren Tanakh. Last year, all we focused on, it's already a few weeks ago, Psukim Aleph through Zion. I want to pick up today from Pasuk Chet, and always and forever, perhaps a little too ambitious to see how far we get. I don't want to say we'll finish the whole parak and learn everything within it, but to realize that when we see a list of names, and we know that previously there's been a list of names, either as a list of names, partially listed in longhand, or just telling us the class of people. Like David HaMelech had his honor guard, his kreti upleti. He had his chayalim, his 400 chayalim. That's all we need to know. We don't need to know the names of every single person. So when the Navi goes out of its way to give us these names, and we know that on the face of it, it's all right, summation. Yeah, but you're going to get that later in Sefer Divrei Hayamim. Right in the Book of Chronicles, which is properly about listing people's names. Fine. Then what we want to do now is understand. That's where Chazal. What I'm trying to do here is set the stage for what I'm going to show you in the Gemara. Chazal understand that, okay, there's another layer of what's going on here, not just the pshat, the direct, a literal, simple reading of these words, of these names. It's not just for our health that it told us this. You could have made a case at the beginning of Sefer Bereshit in either direction as well. I don't want to get off topic, but there you could say, well, it's to tell us the passage of time, to show us generation to generation how things progressed from Adam until Noach and Noach till Avram Avinu. There's a point in having that list there. Here, we're asking ourselves, well, so what? So, okay, so we got this one, we got this one, we got this one. But Chazal understand that it's not, in this case, it's not just for informational purposes primarily, but for some deeper layer of something that's being hinted at. Of course, we always ask the question, why hint and not just say it directly? I'll come to that in a couple of minutes. Let's learn some of the psukim together and you get a flavor for what I'm talking about. But in order to appreciate it, I'm telling you in advance, this same list, or pretty close to it, is going to appear in Sefer Divrei Hayamim, which is actually about a chronology, and a genealogy rather, chronicling, Kishmo Kenu, all of the different generations and everyone associated with the Malchut Beit David. I'm on chapter 23 of Shmuel Bet, Pasuk Chet, and you see, again, chapters are also arbitrary for us, the numbers of the chapters. It's the beginning of a parsha, beginning of a paragraph. Eile Shmona Giborim Shila David. These are the mighty men of David. Yoshev Bashevet Tach Kimoni Rosh Shalishi Hu Adino Ha'etzni Al Shmoneh Meot Chalal Befam Echat. Just right here, one pasuk. Already, here are the names of them. We want to know. By the by, here are some of their exploits. Give you a one-liner about each person, 2 lines, maybe 5 lines, depending. V'acharav Elazar ben Dodo, Ben Achochi, Bishlosha Hagiborim, Im David, Becharfam, Baplishtim, Neasfu Sham Milchama, Ve'alu Ish Yisrael. Hukam Vayach Baplishtim, Ad Ki Yag'a Yado V'tidbak Yado El HaCherev, Vayas Hashem Tshua Gedola B'yom Hahu, V'am Yashu Acharav, Ach Lifashet. All right, so the idea that there was this battle against the Plishtim, and this very strong person, Elazar, got up, and he is part of the family, perhaps. It's not 100% clear. What does Ben Dodo mean? Does it actually mean he was his Ben Dod, or does it mean his father's name was Dodo? So it's Ben Dodo. Give me 1 second, Shel, let me finish the pasuk. And he fought a war against the Plishtim. He was the mighty man in the war of the Plishtim, against the Plishtim, and there was a great salvation. Echoes of Hanukkah that we had not too long ago. A great salvation on that day. And everyone afterward just showed up to take the spoils. But he did everything, this fellow, single-handedly. He's one of the mighty men of David. Shelley, go ahead. I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Why are there, in my Chumash, there are 5, it's an art scroll, my Tanakh. Why are there 5 words that do not have the vowels and are actually in brackets written differently than what they look like?
It's what's called a kriktiv. Certain places in Tanakh, we have a discrepancy between the word as it's written in the Masoretic text and the tradition of how to read the word.
That's 5 of them in 2 pasukim. That's a little strange.
That's a lot. If you look back to chapter 22, you had the very famous Magdil Migdol, right? And if you look the page before, in the Koren Tanakh at least, you have 3 on the page before. And if you look on the page before, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you look at the page before, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 2 on the page before that, and 2 on the page before that. Yeah.
So it's not that uncommon and it doesn't mean anything here in specific?
It does mean something. I don't want to go off topic into it. You're wise to have found it. I'm going to leave it. I'll say the simplest rendering is for reasons that I didn't want to drill down to unpack each one of them each time it came up. There is one way that it became that it's written traditionally in the Masoretic text, means the oldest edition, official edition that we have of the Tanakh, that each person who writes a Tanakh, literally publishes a Tanakh, writes a Tanakh, but publishes a Tanakh, goes to manuscripts. Sometimes there are, let's put it on the most pshat level explanation. It is not the only explanation that you could have. It was written in a certain way, yet there was a tradition that it be read in another way. That it didn't, the way the word is written on the face of it doesn't seem to fit in with the way it should be written. So, for instance, in our context, ben dodi instead of ben dodo. So, if you looked it up, it's ben dadi instead of ben dodo. But the tradition was to be read ben dodo. Why is it spelled that way? So there are midrashic reasons, there are remez reasons, there are sod reasons. On the level of pshat, one is the way it's written, and one of the ways that it is read. There were people who wanted to argue. I'm just reporting it. Wanted to argue that over the generations there were scribal problems, things that came up that were challenges at Kriya and Ktiv, and therefore we're not really sure. But the point is to transmit as faithfully as possible the manuscripts as we receive them. You know, between dadi and dado, if a scribe writes the yud and doesn't draw it down to be a vav, so it looks like a yud. I hesitate about this for several reasons, but I will point out that the number of Kriya Ktivs in a Sefer Torah is infinitesimal compared to how many there are in Nevi'im and Ketuvim. Lahavdol Fafei Avdalot, other tradition, no, I don't say it that way. Religions that we do not accept have whole chapters and whole books that they're not sure what the actual language is and where the chapters go and who wrote them, what's going on with them. Lahavdol fe'avdalot, but in terms of like brute transmission of a text from manuscript to the printed editions that we have today, we, the Jewish people, were dubbed the people of the book. That's not a Jewish expression, by the way. That's what the Muslims call the Jewish people, the people of the book. But it is an interesting point. We were very, very faithful in terms of how we transmitted things. And we have like a few words here and there relative to whole swaths of chapters and books and themes that are a big mess from traditions that we do not accept from other religions, where those religions are much younger than us. We'll leave it there, okay? In terms of confusion and the like. But now back to where I was before. But that was a very important digression, because it does highlight one of the stylistic elements of like what's being written, etc., and where it how it shows up in the text of Nach. This is also important when one contrasts between Shmuel Bet and Divrei Hayamim as an example of these lists of names. There'll be sometimes variations between how the word, the name is phrased in one sefer or the other. How does that crop up? One is a book of Nevuah, one is a book of the Ketuvim. So the Nevi'im versus Ketuvim, it has to do with the different messages that are being conveyed by how one or another word is written and the like. This list goes on. V'acharav, pasuk Yud Aleph, v'acharav, Shama ben Agay, Harari, vayasvu Flishtim lachaya, v'tihisham chilkat hasedem le'a adashim, v'amnas mipnei Plishtim. V'yityatzei b'toch chilkat, vayatzi le'a, vayach et Plishtim, vayas Hashem tshua gedola. God made a great salvation. Second time, there's a paragraph with the words tshua gedola. God made a tshua gedola. And I remind you again that these words should have resonance for us, having come from Chanukah not too long ago, where we referred to the Tshua Gedola, Ufurkan K'ayom Hazeh, the great salvation that Hashem made for the Jewish people. That expression, Tshua Gedola, great salvation, is appended to two of the Giborim who are listed here. Why? To highlight that even though they use their military prowess, their intellectual ability, and their courage in order to bring about a victory, the fact remains God caused it to happen. And that's part of the story that, to me, that's the summation of each of these paragraphs is Hashem made this happen. It didn't mean that, I don't know, pianos fell out of airplanes from the sky and crushed the enemy. They had to fight a war with weapons and took great victories by great military men. But their greatness heralded from their awareness of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's guiding hand in everything that they did. When did these wars take place? Right? We'll read one more paragraph and then it'll, oh yeah, okay. So let's keep going. Vayerdu shlosha, there you go, shloshim and shlosha, pasuk yud gimel, verse 13. Vayerdu shlosha mehashloshim rosh, 30 at the head and 3 among those 30. Vayavo el katsir, el David amarat adulam. I'm sorry, I skipped a part. I'm sorry, I glossed over that completely. What happened with Shama ben Agay Harari? What did he do? So they were in front of a field filled with lentils, right? The Adashim. Everybody ran away from the Plishtim. And what happened? He stood there, he defended it, and he cast away the Plishtim. Great victory. Next. Vayerdu shlosha mea shloshim rosh, vayavo el katsir el David, el me'arat adulam, v'chayat Plishtim chona be'emek refaim. V'David az bamtsuda umatzav Plishtim az Beit Lachem. So we have 3 out of the 30 that are at the head. They come to this place that's called the harvest because the time of the harvest. So it's called Katsir. That's where it's happening in the field. To David, to a cave, the cave of Adulam, and all of the Plishtim are all arrayed there in the place of Emek Rephaim. David is in his fortress, and the mainstay of the Plishtim is in the area of Beit Lachem. Vayitaveh David vayomar, mi yashkeni mayim mibor Beit Lechem asher bashar. Who will give me water from the well of Beit Lachem, which is at the gate? Vayivkiu shlosh giburim machane Plishtim, vayishavu mayim mibor Beit Lachem asher bashar. Vayisu, vayaviu el David v'lo aval ishtotam, vayasechotam l'Hashem. So they get him the water, and they bring it to him, and he doesn't want to drink it. He throws it in the garbage. He spills it out. Excuse me, he doesn't throw it in the garbage. He says, I will not drink it. He gives it to Hashem. He pours it out to Hashem. Nisuch hamayim. He's pouring out water to Hashem. It's strange. Vayomer, he says, Chalila li Hashem, me'asoti zot, hadama anashim olchim benafshotam, v'lo aval ishtotam. So heaven forfend, Chalilali, right? It would be sacrilege for me, Hashem, to do this, to drink it, right? Basically, that these people risk their lives to get this water. It's the blood of these people. Okay, and he refused to drink it. And this is what the 3 mighty men did. The 3 anonymous among the 30. Strange. I'm stopping here. Pause for a minute. When and where is this happening? Does anybody remember what this story is from? When it actually happened? Anything come to mind? Just unmute yourself and let me know.
Way back when David is fleeing from both Shaul and the Philistines, isn't it? He's hiding.
So it could be when he's fleeing from the Shaul and the Philistines. It could be. Was he fleeing from the Shaul and the Philistines at exactly the same time, though?
Well, he ran from Shaul, and then he went down into the Philistines. And then remember, the Philistines were doing some battle against Israel, and he didn't want to be part of that. And didn't he try to go somewhere else at that point?
Yes, but think about the fact that he has these mighty men who are going. It says that he's in a fortress, though. Do you see how it says he's in a fortress?
Right.
Now he can't have a fortress.
Well, I thought that was the Philistine fortress that he was trying to stay behind with the Philistines. So he didn't
So
have
was
to
he
fight.
staying behind with the Philistines per se? Was there not a war against the Philistines at some point?
He stays in their fortress. Or no, it's just, I'm not right. So sorry.
No. This is I'm trying to draw out the question of when does this actually happen? What's the happening that makes this an issue? In other words, he wants. It sounds on the face of it like he's saying, I'd really like some water. That would be really great if someone gave me some water right about now. Yeah. But even though he's asking for water, and then he gets the water, he decides, I don't want. It's like ill-gotten gains. Do you remember a number of prakim ago, a certain war that David HaMelech fought that was actually a war against the Plishtim, where he had the upper hand? Does it ring a bell? Not so much?
He fought so many wars against the Philistines, it's hard to keep them going. Is this the time, one of those years when he was king in Hebron, but he wasn't king over Israel? Because then
so now I think we're getting a little warmer. Keep going. Look with me at the story as it appears in Shmuel Bet. Turn back to Shmuel Bet. Perek. Hold on, I'm going to find it right here. Perek. Perek. Hey, it would be chapter 5, where it mentions that there were. This is one of the examples of where this section, chapter 23, is really harking back to earlier episodes that have already transferred. It's not happening right now. He's having this fight. All right. There's something here. Look at chapter 5, Pasuk Tet Zion, verse 16. Okay. Now, it describes here Vayishmu Flishtim. I'm on page 371 for those who would prefer to see it that way. So, Vayishmu Flishtim ki mashchu et David lemelach al Yisrael vayalu chol Plishtim levakesh David vayishma David vayered al Metzuda uFlishtim ba'u vayinatshu be'emek Refaim vayishal David ba'Hashem leimor ha'elei al Plishtim atitnem biyadi v'yom Hashem al David alei ki natun atem lePlishtim biyadecha vayavod David beval pratzim vayakim sham David v'paratz Hashem et oivai lefanai keferetz mayim al ken karash Hashem makom hu ba'al pratzim. All right. Vayosifu od plishtim la'alot vayinatshu be'emek Refaim. Has anyone ever been to Emek Refaim Street in Eretz Yisrael? Good news, bad news. It's the same area, the same valley in the vicinity of Yerushalayim. I mean, it's part of Yerushalayim today, but the point that it is a section that is all connected in every way, shape, and form to the events of that time. I'm putting it up on the screen. I want you to see it inside so you know what I'm talking about. This is it. This is Emek Refaim area. This is Baal Pratzim. Zoom in a little more. Here is where the Kotel is, Kotel Maravi. Here, this area here, in here, this is where the old city is located, obviously. And in this spot is where David has his fortress. Zoom in even further, make it even better. This is the fortress. Now, there's an area here called Emek Refaim. It's still called that today. You can go to restaurants on the street called Rehov Emek Refaim, right? Katamon, everything in this area, this whole area, Katamon, Rechavia, it's all up here, yeah? Here's Tachana Rishona. Sorry, this is Rechavia more. This is the Katamon area. Here's Emek Refaim. Where are the Plishtim? Over here. What's it the road to? Down here, Kvish Shishim, Highway 60. You drive straight along this road. You'll drive right by. I mean, you can't do it today because there's actually the barrier is over here. But back in the day, when I lived there many moons ago in the Gush, Kvish Shishim, you drive right by Kever Rachel. Where? Beit Lachem. There's Beit Jabala and there's the Heisha. And this area here, this area on the side here, this is already Beit Lachem, right? So here we are. Yeah. This whole area is the area of Beit Lechem. Where is David? He's in his fortress already over here. He's having a war with them. They're dealing with Emek Rephaim. Look in the Tanakh. Go back now to chapter 23. You have, where did this thing happen, right? We have here this idea that they're going to the area of Emek Rephaim. Go back to page 397, verse 13. Emek Rephaim. Yeah? And we have this idea that here, this little section, giving you a little vignette. This didn't happen today. This happened before. Just reminding you, it happened before. Okay? And so it goes. Now, I have much to say about both of these episodes. We're going to have time to see both of these episodes inside at all. I'll show you just one small thing. I got 3 minutes, so if you'll indulge me, 3 minutes. I'm watching the clock, so I want to get to the Levaya, which of course I don't have to travel to because it's COVID. Join with me here. This Gemara here describes the story of the beginning, just the first verse of the names of the mighty men of David, where again, on the face of it, it's immaterial. I mean, okay, because I already have the names in other places in the story, because I have the chronology and the names, the chronicles of the names in the book of Chronicles. So why is it here? Says the Gemara, Masechet Moed Katan. Skip that first paragraph. We don't need it today. We won't get there probably. I'll just reference it. David, Yoshev Bashavet, is sitting in the place. Okay? What does it mean? Amar Rabbi Abo, Hachika Amar, David. This is the greatness, the mightiness of David. What's the mightiness of David? Yoshev Bashavet. He sits in the place. B'shashaya Yoshev b'yeshiva, lo Yoshev al gabei karim uksatot. Say Chazal, why does it tell you the names? Why is it reworking the names and telling you the names again? To tell you that when David HaMelech sat to learn Torah, he didn't sit on pillows. He sat on the floor. Ela al gabe karka. The choma dehava rabbe ira hayairi kayam. Every time, as long as his Rebbe, whose name was Ira, in English, Ira, by the by, Ira hayairi. Well, as long as he was alive. So the student David he would sit on pillows, and he would sit a little higher up, pillows and blankets, meaning on a bit of a higher place. When he died, and who took over from him? Who was the Talmud Muvak of this person? David HaMelech. And he would insist on sitting on the floor. Continuing, Amrule, they said to him, Leitiv Marakan Vikasata, go sit on. You're the Rebbe now. No. Lokabil alei. He refused to do this. What does it mean? Here's the names of the mighty men of David. It means here's the mightiness of David. The gvura of David was that he was David HaMelech and he was David Avdecha. He was the great Torah sage of the generation, and he was still saying, I'm not going to sit up there. I'm going to sit down below. All right? Tachkemoni. It would be a school in Europe in the early 20th century called Tachkemoni. If you know what that is, not for now. Amarav, Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hovi shpalta atzmecha tehei kamoni. The fact that you, says Hashem to David, you abased yourself. You sat low. You were humble. So you'll be like me. Shani goes gzeira, that I will make a decree. Va'atam avatla, you'll, as a tzaddik, you'll have the power to overturn the gzeira that I make. Rosh Shalishim te rosh l'shloshen avot. You'll be the head of all of the three patriarchs. You'll be somehow above them. Rashi down here, skipping. Rosh l'shloshen avot, sholech lifneim l'olam haba. When olam haba, in the world to come, David goes before the three avot. Why? That's Rosh Hashalishim. Really, Rosh Hashalishim means the head of a tripartite division. Chazal reread it in another way. Last line we have time for now. Hu adino ha'etzni. What is this? Adino ha'etzni. Rashi writes, he sat almost practically in like a fetal position of some way. He sat on the floor, but he was hunched over. When he learned, he abased himself like a worm. Later on in Sefer Tehillim, we'll read, Ani talad v'lo ish, he'll say about himself, I'm a worm, not even a person. But at the same time, we know how to battle. He could be very, very, very powerful in a war. That's all we have time for today. I'm very sorry to cut it like this, but I want to go to this Levaya out of respect for our good friend. And I wish everyone just a great rest of the week. I'm sorry I can't pick up the shiur later today, owing to so many other things that are waiting for me for today, etc. But next week, God willing, we'll resume the shiur regular time, 9:30, and God willing, we'll have the full hour. Have a great day.